Hello everybody, my name is Sarah Coffin, and today I'll be talking to you about the effects of perspective taking on inspiring concern for the environment. To help me with my talk today, I would like to introduce you to the lace-on albatross. The lace-on albatross is a pelagic seabird, which means it spends most of its life out on the open ocean. It is one of 22 species of albatross, 17 of which are considered threatened. The home of the lace-on albatross is all the way up there on Midway Atoll. It's located on one of the northwestern Hawaiian Islands in the northwestern Hawaiian Island chain. Midway Atoll and the lace-on albatross are strongly affected by plastic pollution that covers the island. This plastic pollution comes from us and is from Japan and the North American West Coast. So how much plastic is out there in the world's oceans? According to a 2014 study, there are approximately 268,940 tons of microplastics currently out in the world's oceans. That could fill over 29,000 garbage dump trucks and is the equivalent weight of 10 times the Statue of Liberty. Microplastics are plastic products broken down into smaller pieces by the sun over time. These are items that you and I may see or use every day, such as plastic straws, bottle caps, or single-use water bottles. Though these items may be convenient to us, they are damaging to animals and their ecosystems. For example, on the surface of the ocean, albatross forage for some delicious squid to take home to feed their chicks. Look how easy it might be to mistake that squid for something else on the surface, like this small plastic bottle. Another part of the albatross's diet are fish eggs. Look how similar these bottle caps look, especially as they break down into smaller pieces over time. By consuming these microplastics, albatross are filling their stomachs with items they cannot digest, leading them to die of starvation. Now, up until this point, we have talked about the negative effects of plastic pollution on the lace-on albatross and other marine life. But in order to encourage action to be taken, we must first ask the question, how do we encourage concern for nature? To begin to answer this question, psychologists have coined the term biospheric concern, which is the concern people have for all living things. But now the question becomes, how do we evoke biospheric concern? Current literature supports that empathy leads to an increase in biospheric concern. But how do we evoke empathy? According to a psychologist named P. Wesley Schultz, he proposed that perspective taking, or seeing through the eyes of someone other than yourself, can lead to an increase in empathy, therefore increasing biospheric concern. So let's take a deeper look at Schultz's study. Schultz split his participants into two groups. The first group was the objective group. Objective participants viewed a photo of an animal harmed by plastic pollution in nature. They received the set of instructions to try to take a neutral perspective and make observations about the mannerisms, postures, movements, and expressions of the animal. Schultz's second group was the perspective-taking group. Perspective-taking participants viewed the same photo of animals being harmed by pollution in nature, but with a different set of instructions. They were asked to imagine how the subjects in the images feel and try to take the perspective of the animal. Schultz then measured the environmental concern that participants felt in his study using the environmental concern scale. Participants responded to the prompt, "I am concerned for the environment because of consequences for," and rated their concern from 1 to 7. A score closer to 7 indicated high concern, and a score closer to 1 indicated low concern. Now in his study, Schultz measured 3 different types of environmental concern, but for the purposes of this presentation, we're going to be talking about biospheric concern, which we mentioned before. In the table are the 6 items that measured biospheric concern on the environmental concern scale. Participants would rank 1, low concern, to 7, high concern. So what did Schultz find? In this graph, we're going to look at the mean biospheric concern scores that participants indicated in the objective and perspective-taking groups in Schultz's study. In this black bar, we have the objective mean at 5.01 and the perspective-taking mean at 5.82. Schultz found that perspective-taking in the green bar significantly increased biospheric concern in visitors. This indicates that perspective-taking is an effective tool at increasing biospheric concern in a laboratory setting. Other studies have replicated Schultz's results and found similar studies, but up until this point, there have been no studies outside of a laboratory setting that look at the effects of perspective-taking on biospheric concern. This brings us to my current study at the Monterey Bay Aquarium. I wanted to know, can perspective-taking be used as an effective tool to inspire biospheric concern in visitors? To answer this question, I went to the Monterey Bay Aquarium's Albatross Encounter, a show created to educate visitors about the negative effects of plastic pollution. I hypothesized that visitors who engaged in perspective-taking would have increased biospheric concern compared to visitors that did not. I had 145 participants between the ages of 18 and 88 years with a mean age of 41. I would like to point out that visitors to the aquarium voluntarily attended one of the Albatross encounter shows and were not randomly assigned, making my study quasi-experimental. Alright, so visitors to the aquarium in between November 2016 and December 2016 saw the non-perspective taking show. Visitors to this show were given facts about plastic pollution and its negative effects on the albatross. I'll now read to you a portion of the narrative that these visitors heard. I have a container of lighters, pens, and bottle caps. All of the items in this container were found in the stomach of an albatross. Out in the middle of the Pacific Ocean, these albatross are bringing over 10,000 pounds of plastic back to their home. Visitors to the aquarium's albatross encounter in between December 2016 and November 2017 saw the perspective taking albatross encounter show. This show was similar in that it presented facts about the negative effects of plastic pollution on the Laysan albatross, but the narrative was different. I will now read to you a portion of the narrative that the participants heard in the perspective taking show. Imagine that you are a mother albatross flying out into the open ocean to find food for your baby. Now imagine that what you bring back isn't squid, but plastic. The key difference in this show is that visitors were asked to take the perspective of the albatross, whereas in the other show, they just heard facts about it. We measured environmental concerns similar to Schultz's study using the environmental concern scale. In this graph, we're going to look at the mean biospheric concern across the non-perspective taking and perspective taking shows. In this black bar, you can see the mean for the non-perspective taking show, which is high at 6.24 out of 7. In this green bar, you can see the perspective taking mean, which was 6.21 out of 7. However, an independent samples t-test revealed that there was no significant increase in biospheric concern in the perspective taking show. This indicates that perspective taking may not be as effective as a strategy to invoke biospheric concern outside of a laboratory setting. Now let's compare my results to Schultz. In this graph, we're going to look at the mean biospheric concern, and we're going to compare my study and Schultz's study. Now just to remind you, Schultz found that there was a significant increase in biospheric concern in the perspective taking condition. In my study, mean concern scores in both the non-perspective taking in the black bar and the perspective taking in the green bar were much higher than those of Schultz. However, my study did not find that perspective taking significantly increased biospheric concern in visitors. So in my study, as I mentioned before, we had much higher biospheric concern scores in visitors than in previous laboratory studies. This may suggest that visitors to an environmental organization such as the aquarium may have pre-existing concern for nature. It is also important to note that the biospheric concern scores may have been influenced by the aquarium experience overall, and not just the albatross encounter show. This is plausible as literature supports that zoo and aquarium experiences overall lead to an increase in biospheric concern. Conducting my research outside of a laboratory setting and at the Monterey Bay Aquarium was a great experience. It was especially exciting as this is the first study to examine the effects of perspective taking on biospheric concern outside of the lab. However, in the real world, it's important to remember that not everything goes as planned. Due to the quasi-experimental nature of my design, we had limited control over outside variables, such as the narrative of the Albatross encounter show and which participants attended what show. In the future, we should measure pre-existing concern that visitors feel for visitors coming into environmental organizations such as the aquarium. This would help us better understand our sample, as people who choose to go into an environmental organization may have more biospheric concern compared to those who do not. To look at this, we should test the biospheric concern of people outside of environmental contexts, such as schools or community centers. Strategies to evoke environmental concern are relatively new to research and should be studied across varying situations and settings. By studying and encouraging concern for nature, we can help preserve the environment and the Laysan albatross for generations to come. Thank you for your time. I would like to thank my research mentor, Jennifer Dyer Seymour, at the Monterey Bay Aquarium, Jennifer Rigney and Elise Walmsley, and UROC for supporting me through this research process. Thank you. Any questions? Yes.
I'm wondering if you think that also maybe people are just so overwhelmed by hearing about all the terrible things happening in the environment.
They definitely, yeah.
And that maybe at a certain point they just get like saturated with how much they care.
Yeah, definitely. So the Albatross Encounter show is about 15 minutes long. So 15 minutes of hearing all of these really detrimental things about how we as humans are affecting the environment definitely could increase your empathy, as we were talking about before, and that could make you have much higher concern than someone who's just walking around out in the world and is not hearing all about the bad things we're doing to the animals. So that's definitely a great point. I think we should look at that in the future, especially since there's not a lot of studies who have looked at environmental concern outside of a lab. Yes.
Your methodology is really interesting. It seems like that particular questionnaire, it's capping out in this population where you're getting almost the highest possible score as your average score. I'm wondering if you're interested in studying in the aquarium in particular, you're probably going to keep capping out that particular measure. It might even potentially be worth seeing if you can have a more drastic ceiling on your measure, like choosing environmental stuff as, having them make kind of this choice between another thing that they also really value to kind of get at that higher stakes.
Yeah, definitely. I think this measure, since it's only been used in laboratory settings, it may be appropriate for there, but when we're out in the real world, it may not be sensitive enough. So I think in time, and definitely with my career, I would like to develop a new measure that we could check out environmental concern outside of a laboratory setting. Did you have a question?
Yeah, I'm just interested in perspective taking generally. Has anyone manipulated the visual image so that you're actually inside of the thing you're looking at? So we're looking at the albatross from the outside feeding its baby, and we have a certain amount of empathy. But if you are the albatross, and like you were looking as if you were the albatross looking at the baby with a piece of plastic in your beak, to me that would make me feel a lot more strongly than just hearing a narrative and seeing a cute animal. So has anybody ever done that kind of perspective taking where you're actually inside of whatever it is
That's really
perspective
interesting.
you're trying to take?
I have yet to come across any literature that's used that type of visuals. Mostly perspective taking has been used in terms of language and framing, so we're using that, imagine that you are this thing, that type of language. But I have not read anything thus far that is actually putting you in the visuals. But that would be something great, especially with the advance of technology, that we could actually start implementing psychology into technology and the environment. Yes.
I'm just going to offer a story because I know somebody who works in VR, like virtual reality, and they made a film. So it's new to have VR in the ocean, and they made a film about these a special type of manta ray, and they showed it at the recent CITES meeting where they decide on the species status, and they were actually able to get the species listed because they put people in this VR system. They actually got to swim with the mobile rays, and then that ended up pushing people over the line to actually look at the species. So
That's really interesting.
I don't think they did any psychology studies necessarily testing.
Hey, that's perspective taking. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you. Yes.
I'm just curious, maybe I didn't catch it. Did you write the script for the person in the aquarium who was talking about Albatross?
No, we actually didn't write the script, so we were in a partnership with the aquarium. This project was actually part of a program review, so we were revamping everything at the aquarium, so we did not have control over the narrative. That's something that I would like to do in the future, especially since when you're listening to a show, it may not be apparent that perspective-taking language is what you're supposed to be focusing on. So in the future, I would like to isolate that language and really emphasize it and have more control over what we're showing the world and what type of language that we're letting them listen to. Yes.
On the topic of biospheric concern, as I watch guests walk through the aquarium, I would say most of the time with their families or individually, they're walking past exhibits that are not a 15-minute presentation or a 20-minute in the auditorium on X, Y, or Z. So how would you, have you thought about, how would you instill biospheric concern in a drive-by? In other words, they're 30 seconds at an exhibit and they're on to the next one because the kid's running down the hallway. How can that be paced in a place like one that you're familiar with, Monterey Bay Aquarium? Have you thought about that? How would you engage it?
I definitely have thought about it. So perspective taking is one of the strategies that we have been using in psychology to evoke more of altruistic concern, so you're concerned for others. So we're kind of adapting that as a method to inspire biospheric concern. And there have been other methods that have been tested in laboratory settings, such as social norms. So potentially in the aquarium, we could have an exhibit that would say, your local teacher is taking care of this turtle, you can too, and maybe have something interactive like that. So there are different strategies in psychology, aside from perspective taking, that you can employ and put those into exhibits as well. So if you have limited time, you could have a short blurb like that. It's just depending on the effectiveness and what situation you're in. So I would love to test that in the future as well. Great question.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Thank you, Sarah.
Great job.